Are you ready?
All righty. Welcome, Family Matters, with the birthday boy himself, Kevin Petersen. How are you, Kevin?
I'm feeling all of my 62 years, Jay.
Working on your birthday, too. That's pretty impressive. I mean,
dude, there's no rest for the wicked, you know.
I remember in the early days, you'd always take off your birthday because, like, if it was anything like me, I knew I was going to get crazy. But anyway, thankfully, we don't have to live like that anymore. But Family Matters, we do this show to the best of our ability every week, normally on a Thursday, normally around this time-ish. But we want to calm fears, answer your questions, everything to do with families and addiction, substance abuse, substance misuse, codependency, mental health. List goes on and on. And as always, sponsored by Jaywalker Lodge. I got my swag on. Last week I was MIA from my house, so I didn't have my. But anyway,
yeah.
We thank our friends over at Jaywalker.
Yeah.
And let's.
Should we get the party started?
Yeah. Well, let's get ready. I mean, here's my question. And so I'm a listener right now. So listener and co-host. But I've been having in-depth, I'll just call them in-depth, open-minded, so it's not one way or the other, but long conversations with people within our industry and so forth like that. And kind of, I'll ask you this. So when you come to family recovery and family kind of, when it comes to with treatment facilities and how they view family recovery, there's very few, Jaywalker being one of them, that has obviously invested, spends a lot of time, energy into growing, empowering, and educating the family. Why is it that family recovery is so way back behind client recovery, if that makes sense?
Oh, no, it makes perfect sense. It's funny you should say that. I was at the dentist again yesterday. Third time in the last 10 days getting pain and got a new bridge. This is temporary though, so I'll get and the hygienist was chitty-chatting with me, and she asked the same question. So here's a couple of the reasons. The first one is pretty straightforward. It is next to impossible to get insurance reimbursement for family engagement. And so a lot of the places that are insurance-based, they're going to give it lip service, but they're not going to really do it, or what they're going to do is the traditional, we have a once a week meeting, which is kind of a bad Al-Anon meeting. And then we have like a once a quarter or once whatever family workshop where the families are asked to come visit. And those tend to be of one of two types. And the one type is it's heavy educational. It's like you're getting a master's in addiction in 3 days. And it just kind of blows everybody back. Like, what the hell is this? And then the other thing they do is sort of like, I call it 3 days of cage match family therapy. Throw everybody into a room and let them tear each other apart. And then you're there as the therapist to patch them back up and thinking somehow that's going to make things better. That always seems insane to me. I think it causes a lot more trauma, because then what happens, right after you've done this family work in a contained space, the family takes off and the guy stays there. And so he's like, well, wait, we just hold on. So when I started doing this, and I'm going to answer the question why nobody does it.
Yeah.
But when I started doing this, 11, 12 years ago, I was watching this, and I was watching why I was sort of like, well, I wonder why nobody takes the family seriously. And I think there's the money reason. And I think the other reason is I think everybody talks about it, about, we gotta, but they don't really know what to do. And what they've seen done is not that successful. And so 2 years ago, when I was talking to Steph and Bill, our old CEO, and said, hey, I would really think it'd be great if we could join forces. Because the way I do things is really different. The way I do things is coming in and saying, we're going to educate the hell out of the family on addiction, recovery, codependency, trauma, mental health, family systems, so that when they meet up with the guy, they will be just as tuned in as the guy or their client, their loved one is. So, I mean, specifically at Jaywalker, they're going to come in, and I encourage the clients at Jaywalker to ask their family, are you doing the homework? What are you learning? Don't make it all about you. Push it back to them and say, hey, are you guys in on this or not? And I think it's just that on the other side too, is that and this is where I get to pat myself on the back to a certain degree, finding an LMFT that's sober, that understands this process, like myself and my colleague, Chandra McLaughlin, is really hard. It's really hard to find people in that engagement that have dedicated themselves to working with the family. Because our theory is, if we can fix the family system or heal the family system or change the family system, the individual is going to have to change if they want to continue to be part of the system. So I think it's just more, they don't have the bandwidth. And then the other I can tell you, this is what the owners of the places I used to work for would say, we don't get reimbursed. There's no money in it for us. That makes sense?
Well, interesting. You say we don't have the money for this. I mean, it's common and understandable.
Yeah.
I will be as bold as to what let's call it the elephant in the room, and no one wants to admit this, but is it possible? I'm not saying this. I'm just saying, is it possible that most facilities are preparing for the second, third, fourth, fifth time around back into treatment? And is there a small chance that facilities see that if we start investing in the families, and I'm just being advocate, that maybe, just maybe, people will start getting the solution and families will start getting solution. And I'm not saying, there's a lot of great treatment centers out there, and I'm not trying to spark a debate, but I think it's worth, which I brought up to the people I know and trust, is, are we to the point right now, or what needs to happen for people to really understand what you and I believe in it, is if you help the family, you increase the success rate within change. What do you think needs to happen for facilities? And you outlined a lot of them, and that's not going to go away, that you're not going to get reimbursed or whatever, but what do you think needs to, because there's really not a measuring stick as of yet that I know of, and there's not a lot of research that I know of. I've started to look, but what needs to happen for people to truly correlate the family changes, success rates go up?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, okay, sure. You're absolutely right. And there is sort of that dark side of the treatment program or treatment world of, well, we know you're going to relapse. And that means we get to start over financially. And if we get the family involved, that you might actually get better. I'm not in the minds. I'm not in their brains, but I'm not going to argue with you. You and I have been around a long time. We know what's up. We've seen the ins and the outs and the goods and the bads and what's going on in the treatment industry. And to think that there's not somebody standing back and looking at a spreadsheet and saying, well, we're guaranteed 3 entrances with this guy, so why would we screw with that?
Yeah, and I will say this, that I don't believe that people actively say, hey, prevent the family from getting better to improve rates. I think a better way of saying it is, I think there's a lot of people from the treatment facility point of view where it's like, don't say something to ruffle the feathers of mom and dad, so that they're anti our treatment facility if Johnny relapses again or something like that. So I don't think that there's people actively trying to block the family from getting better. I think what prevents a lot of treatment centers is they will bite their tongue in a lot of cases when they need to hold accountable family members, because just maybe in the back of their mind, whether they consciously or unconsciously, again, I want to see everyone's the best in everything. So they may not even know it. They're holding back just in case that Johnny or Sally does relapse, that mom and dad still trust them, that they'll come right back. So I guess that's what I'm saying, not actively blocking family recovery.
I don't disagree with you at all. And again, I don't want to act as if there's nefarious people standing back behind the curtain like, ooh, okay. I also know our industry well enough to know that there are nefarious people that are standing behind the curtain and saying,
Yes.
I feel like I have to, it's really important to me to say that the philosophy that we have at Jaywalker is the polar opposite. Our philosophy is get the family involved and get them bought into the concept of 9 months or a year of treatment and create that longevity and get that guy sober and get the family to support that with their own recovery. And then you're not going to have to do this again. But you'll notice that that's 9 months or a year, not 30 days. If you're just buying into the 30-day model, we have guys that have done it 10 times, 12 times. The families are like, do you know how much money we put down on this? I said, oh yeah, no, I totally get it. Why not do our model for 9 months or a year and really dig in and really get everything engaged and fixed one time, and we have, our success rates are so much higher than the 30-day models, so much higher. So I think, I agree with everything you're saying, but I think that's why we feel we have the anecdote. And I think there's a couple other facilities that we both know that also have the same anecdote where they're like, no, 90 days is not going to solve any problem. 6 months is not going to really, it's going to be better. 9 months is great, but a year or a year and a half, and I don't mean an inpatient treatment the entire time. Let's be clear. First 90 days is kind of a combination inpatient PHP. Second 90 days is IOP, intensive outpatient. Third 90 days, actually the next 6 months is generally sober living with outpatient services. So you're lowering the guardrails, but they're still there. And at the same time, working with the family system and saying, hey, let's create change internally so that when he calls and starts whining, complaining, you don't automatically think it's your job to fix it. And that's really hard, right? Because the parents think that's their job. And, I spend a lot of time on the phone or on the Zooms with the clients that we have now, where the parents are like, hey, we talked to him and he says, da, 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 da. I said, okay, I want you to hear what I'm going to say to you. Okay. I'm not slapping your wrist or smacking you around. Do you know what the codependent triangle is? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, so he calls you, so you call me, so I call work. And they're like, oh. And I said, I understand your desire to help your child, your 30-year-old child. Okay. But what I want you to do is stop that triangle and push it right back into his lap and say, you need to go talk to your therapist or go talk to the clinical director or go talk to somebody higher up and advocate for yourself and solve your own problem. And get that's, I said, and when I always say, oh, we got to create family change in the system, that's what I'm talking about. Don't fight the battle. Don't call me because he wants to go to the dentist. he needs to go right to the head of the tech office and say, I need a dental appointment. And, we got to get out of this loop of, him asking for permission from you for everything. And then you fighting his battles for him. And that's tough, man. It's really tough for these families because they've done it for so long. Like 30-year-old guys, their parents are making their appointments for them. And I'm like, no. He can do that. And then the guys kind of, they throw back on mom and dad. Oh, yeah, I tried and they didn't help me. And the parents like, he says he tried. And I said, now, okay, this is my other favorite thing to say. Sorry, I'm talking so long.
No, go ahead.
So you mean the guy that 3 months ago you told me was the biggest manipulator, con artist, and liar on the planet is telling you that he went and talked to the people that run Jaywalker and they wouldn't help him. And they're like, oh. I said, and I'm not talking bad about your kid. I get it. I mean, oh my God, I was that guy. Oh, Dad, they're all out to get me, and so it's like, well, Kevin, you're 25. Better figure out how to solve that problem, Big Daddy. And it's like, that's right. You got to push it back into their lap and allow them to, and again, I'm sorry, you really hit a button for me today, evidently. The other thing is
less work for me.
Yeah, well, they're not telling the whole truth. I mean, I got this yesterday. It's like, oh, I didn't. There's and I was like, okay, and it was a family call, and I was like, hold on. I know that's not what's going on. Well, okay, yeah. Or he's telling part of the truth, and I'm like, that's not the deal. And they're like, well, yeah, okay. And I can see the parents just like. So here's the thing. It's hard for the family to change, and it's hard for them to let go of their position because in their minds, they are what makes the trains run on time, right? And I'm saying, oh no, you got to take your hands off and walk away. And I think we're going to go back to your original question and say, why do people not go after it that hard? That's why, because I'm going to put mom and dad out of a job. And they're going to be pissed because I'm telling them they have to change. And honestly, I think a lot of treatment centers are like, oh, that's a battle we don't want to fight.
Yeah.
So there, look, land the plane.
And there's people there. I mean, it just goes, there's a lot of J Staples and there's a lot of people out there that would take a lot of that off facilities. I just wish that facilities would get more behind family recovery and even either bringing someone in specifically for it or outsourcing it, whatever it may be. I want to get to this question. It's so long, so she ultimately says that it's interesting that a lot of, and she put experts in quotations, are detach, enforce, love, tough love, boundaries, whatever she says. That's just conflicting advice. She wants to appreciate what we do each and every week. And she says that Kevin makes it very simple. I wish my son would have known about Jaywalker before, but he's currently in a 90-day program. So she says, I completely have come to the point where I'm starting to understand where you guys are talking about. I feel empty and shattered now that my loved one, my son, has finally decided to go to rehab and has agreed to go to 90 days. This emotional crash has hit really hard for me. When the chaos stops, she said, give me some advice. When the chaos stops, I'm feeling grief. I'm feeling shame. I'm feeling guilt. I'm feeling, I don't know what anymore, but I just feel alone and somewhat I want to find hope. She's basically hopeful in there, question mark. So
yeah,
it's interesting. This is to the heart of what we're talking about. And it sounds as if you have a mom that's kind of throwing her hands in the air but also is also appreciative of what we kind of talk about. So just take it from there.
Oh, I totally get where she's coming from. I mean, it's kind of like I don't know about you, but one of the things I know about my personality and where I come from is that in the thick of a crisis, I'm actually, I mean, I've actually had like girlfriends and my wife and my friends and bosses say, when the fire gets hotter, you get calmer. And I'm like, well, that's the benefit of having a really dysfunctional childhood, you know? But yeah. And so I think what mom is saying, she's kind of facing the emotional hangover, because that's how I am. But then I always know when the crisis is over, about 2, 3, 4 days later, I'm just hit like a ton of bricks. Like, I can't move, and I'm emotional, I'm crying, upset, and I'm like, what the hell? I don't understand. And with great therapy, my therapist has been like, well, yeah, because you were caught early on as a kid. Lock it up, solve the problem. There's no room for your emotions here. And then as an adult, you started to open that box up and say, no, I have feelings and I have emotions. And so it's about learning how to actually have them in the moment and not, what do we call that? Encapsulate, or I completely forgot the word, put it in a box, put it on the shelf, and then come back and open it up when it's time. And so I think what mom is saying is that she spent so much time, being the fireman, fighting fires, 24 hours to ring, in the truck, on the ambulance, at the ER. I got it. At the jail. I got it. And now that he's in 90 days of treatment, everything's coming down, and now all her feelings are coming up, which is why, Jay, part of what we encourage our families to do is individual therapy, trauma therapy. Find someone that does trauma work, someone that understands addiction and codependency and attachment work. And I know I'm asking for a lot, but find someone that does, because you need help with your stuff, just like he needs help with his stuff. And just like he's going to 12-step meetings and creating a sober community, you need to do the same thing. And I don't mean online. I don't mean on a Facebook group where everybody complains and struggles. I mean, you need to go to some sort of direct support community where people are coming up with positive attributions of how to solve this problem. And here's the phrase you got to remember. You can't expect him to do something you're not willing to do. If you want to change, the family changes first, and then the guy's got to change along with it. Long answers today, but that's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. You got to go to therapy. You got to go to 12-step recovery, whatever you want, whatever is best for you. It can be faith-based, whatever. It can be non-faith-based, whatever. But you got to seek out a community of people that are supportive and have a solution, not a community of people that will complain. And I've gone to some of these meetings where what they really do is they trade secrets on how to control their family members. And I'm like, no, because all that's going to do is reinforce your behavior. So,
yeah. Well,
yeah, that's a lot, huh? Woo!
It is. And I mean, I was reminded when you were talking that when you drive from Orange Beach back to Nashville, which is about a 6-hour drive, you can get in some really, really good podcasts, and as long as some good music too. But there was a neuroscientist on one of the podcasts, and all these names mixed, but I found it really, really interesting. She was basically saying everyone wants like goals and manifestation, and she's like, well, everyone wants to make more money, and everyone wants to be success, or everyone wants to find the love of their life. And she was really saying, which may be simplistic, but maybe it was just time that I needed to hear it, is what are the feelings behind you want to make more money? Is it be selfish because you want to splurge and have everyone think that you're, top crap? Or is it you want the freedom, the security for a family, whatever it may be, and you want love of your life? What's the feelings behind that? And she also was going into, like, if you put down what you look for in a prospective relationship, and make sure that you are that half that you're looking for. You can't just look for something when you're not also prepared. And it just, when you were talking about it, and you were talking about the feelings, and this mom is just at this kind of rock bottom with feelings. It reminded me of, yes, therapy has played such a big role in, but how quickly I kind of just throw away these feelings. And everyone wants to make more money. Everyone wants all these goals. And it's interesting that she was saying, find the feelings behind that. And what are the true feelings? And if they're sincere feelings, then you're able to kind of go all in. And your brain, as a neuroscientist, is able to kind of power up when it's security, freedom, and so forth. Not necessarily for these selfish motives. Your brain can't necessarily. Anyway, you said about the feelings and getting really, really attached to those feelings with therapy. It just reminded me, like, to these feelings. This mom is rock bottom with feelings. I hope she embraces these feelings and sees what truly at the root of them is what I'll say.
100%, and I feel for her, and I have empathy for her, and I want her to get help because, I guarantee you she's probably one of those people that's like, well, when he's sober, I'm okay. And I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but would you believe me that there's a way to, like, whether he's sober or not, you could still be okay. You may not like it, but you can still be neutral around it. And they just look at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, that's going to be our journey. Is how do we get to that place? And it's okay. It's okay. I get it. I mean, they base their whole life on it. And then, here we come along saying, oh yeah, I mean, detach. It's like, it's that easy, And I love Al-Anon. I love Melody.
No.
I get all that. But the thing, the other thing that I find really dangerous is that treatment centers just automatically tell the family, go to Al-Anon. And these people walk into these Al-Anon meetings and they're like, I don't know why I'm here. They told me to come here. And a lot of times the people in Al-Anon, not so nice, and they're like, whatever, you don't need to. But I mean, the good Al-Anon meetings are going to get like, hey, try 6 meetings. Here's our information. Here's a book. We love you. We're happy to have you here. We've all been through this. And I get that. But I think it also really, I think the programs are trying to use Al-Anon as their family program to a certain degree. And I'm like, oh, I love Al-Anon, but it's not going to solve the family system problem. That's what we're trying to address, a major, much bigger issue than going somewhere and hearing other people talk about their, alcoholic or their drug addict. So yeah. Sorry, kind of back to the original question.
No, I love it. Yeah, I love it. So, it's Al-Anon is getting thrown out there, and I don't think there's a lot of education around it and so forth like that. I think that, yes, there are some, with anything, good meetings, some questionable meetings. There's questionable people within those meetings. There's solid people within meetings. And, all too often we're just saying go to Al-Anon and then not really educating or really giving them support.
Wow.
Well, I wish I had a birthday cake for you, Kevin, or else, if I had it, I'd probably eat it myself. It would never make it to you. But anyway, I hope you had a tremendous birthday, and I hope your wife is treating you like the king that you are today, at least.
I got an almond croissant already. Yeah.
Oh, look at you. So, if there's a day that you can take the rest of the day off, today has to be, you brought it. You got your buttons pushed, you stayed calm, and it's your birthday. So I think you should clock out and just take a nap on the couch or something.
Oh, if only I could, my brother. If only I could.
I'll call Steph. I'll clear it, Just don't hold your breath. But I'll give it my best shot. So all right, Kevin, I'll see you next week.
All right.